A few failures, a few errors are enough for people to get conditioned or to condition others, right? Failure is a failure, there's no doubt. But when you look at life, right, then this failure is not as big or as important as life. Okay? Suppose you look at this failure from the angle of life, right? Look at failure, right? Not as an independent thing, okay? If you look at life through the failure, then life looks a failure. Okay? When you look at failure through life, then failure is nothing. Okay? So perception is very important to infer. Right? When you perceive smoke, then you infer there is fire. Isn't it? So perception of smoke is very important to infer fire. Okay. The base logic is also what? Where there is smoke, there is fire. Isn't it? So perception is very important to infer. Now, instead of looking at life through failure, look at failure through life. Ask the question, is not life bigger than failure, or is failure larger than life? No, life is too big for any one or two or even three failures to affect. Right? Life is too big for any failure to hit it and pin it down. Right? Failure can definitely give a little delay, but can never give a permanent denial. Okay? Failure can give a little delay, but cannot tell absolute denial. Right? So perceiving failure from life looks very small, simple, silly and useless. Suppose you look at the whole life through a failure, everything looks a crisis and unimaginable problem. Right? So change your vision. Life is too big, too important, too precious for any conditioning or failure to deny it, to neglect it. Right? Life is so big and important. Okay? It is spread over 40, 50 years of a man's existence. Right? You don't have any failure that is going to come 50 years. If you can stop, convert a failure into success. Right? In a 50-year life, you can convert hundreds of possible failures into successes. Right? But suppose you leave it, you can convert hundreds of lives into failures. The question is how you look at both of them. Never look at life through failure. Learn to look at all failures and disappointments through life. Right? Because life is too big and too precious, no failure or disappointment can ever, at any time, even in your dream, right, affect life or make life smaller. Right? So perception leads to inference. Okay? Man's most potent and important weapon of knowledge is perception. Right? So how you perceive will lead you to infer. Perceive that life is more and more important than any disappointment, any failure, any conditioning, and any relationship that does not matter. Okay? If that way you learn to look at life, you can cross any crisis, any hurdle or a failure, because no failure can walk along with you for 50 years unless and until you allow them. Okay? So life is more precious, more important. That is why Bala always says, your life is in your hands. Okay?